Hello, and welcome to my channel, The Entrepreneurial Mindset. My name is Jay Berman, and today is Essential Marketing Concepts, Episode 10. The concepts in this video come from my book, Is Your Business Idea a Good Investment?, which is available on Amazon.com, Kindle version only. Go to the Amazon search bar, select books, type in my name, Jay Berman, scroll to my book to purchase, and by purchasing my book, you'll be supporting my work, my channel. Thank you. So today's concepts are the supply chain. It's the companies involved in the logistics of producing and delivering goods. In my previous episodes regarding marketing, I describe a good as something that a customer owns versus services that are generally customers rent. And the activities, functions regarding supply chain management. So what do I mean by the supply chain? Well, it starts off with the design of a product, which is the prerogative and privilege of being an entrepreneur. So if you're an entrepreneur, you're probably designing a new product, a new good, based on your ideas, your experience, what you think you can produce better than what's currently available. Maybe you're producing a good that is improving industry standards. Maybe you're adding to those standards. So you're providing some sort of innovation in the form of a good. And then once you design the product, then you have to develop a prototype. Again, in one of my previous episodes regarding marketing, I talk about product design and the importance of an actual prototype. Now, the trend right now, or at least what the Trump administration is trying to do, is encourage more manufacturing in the United States. So perhaps you could manufacture your new good here in the United States. It could be more costly, which is why companies tend to want to produce their goods in overseas countries, like in China, Vietnam, those Asian countries. But then on the other hand, you have to pay for transportation, which is the shipping, the mailing, and delivering from those foreign countries, whereas the shipping, mailing, delivering actually might be cheaper because of the distance of where you live in the United States, and where it could be manufactured in the United States is something to consider. You have your wholesalers, which are companies that sell to retailers. So perhaps your company is actually a wholesaler. In other words, you're designing a product that you're going to, and you're actually the wholesaler. So you're going to be selling it to retailers, or you could be selling it to or you could be the retailer. In other words, just selling it online, maybe in your own store, because retailers are the companies that have stores that sell directly to consumers. Then, of course, before you actually sell to either retailers or directly to consumers, you need a place to store, warehouse your inventory. And inventory is an accounting term, which means this is the merchandise, the goods, before they're sold, they're considered inventory. It's an asset, it's an investment, but if you have 100 shirts or 200 shirts or 5,000 shirts, whatever you're selling, you may need a place to warehouse it, to have it stored. Your garage may not be big enough. Then there, of course, there are advertising agencies. You can certainly do the advertising yourself, or you may want to hire an advertising agency to make customers aware of your product. your good. You need to have some sort of customer service function. Again, it can be something as simple as an email function, or it could be, a toll-free number, or it can be a chat function. In one of my previous episodes, I talk about customer service. You may need to have some sort of repair and warranty services. And then, of course, you have to advise people on, once they are finished with the product, if there are any special considerations on how to dispose of it once it's product is no longer being used. Okay. There we go. Then there are some important supply chain management functions. The first one I'm going to discuss is demand forecasting, which means estimating the number of goods customers will buy, usually based upon past performance, and then adding a reasonable industry growth rate for future production or sales. So if you are a new entrepreneur and you've never sold any goods yet, in your business plan, your first 3 years, you're going to have to forecast how much goods you're actually going to be selling. And that's going to be based on the number of customers you need in order to generate a good rate of return. I have a separate video on how to determine the revenue goals to achieve a decent rate of return of 20-25%. And then once you do have a history of sales, a reasonable growth rate would be how the growth rate of the industry. So, for example, if the industry is growing 5%, and last year you sold 100,000 goods, shoes, shirts, whatever you're selling, then just add an extra 5%. So let's say in the first year you sold $100,000 worth of merchandise, then maybe to add an extra 5%, so it'd be an extra $5,000 based on the growth of the industry. It's also the growth of the economy. The economy grows around 2-3%. So if you add a little, 1 or 2% to the growth rate of the economy, the GDP, gross domestic product, that's probably a reasonable growth rate to estimate future sales, future production. You also have to do production scheduling, which is the resources and processes needed to create a good from manufacturer to customer. This includes the lead time, which is the amount of time it takes for a customer to receive a product once ordered. So if you have products in storage, your lead time will be very, very short. If you're starting off strictly from manufacturing, what is that lead time? In other words, how long does it take for the manufacturer to produce the good and to be able to deliver it to you to your warehouse? How long does that take? Does it take a month? Does it take 2 months, 3 months? So this way you have enough inventory to meet demand. And in terms of meeting demand, you're going to be, it's important you are involved in replenishment and of inventory control. So ensuring there is sufficient supply to meet customer demands. Customers nowadays, because of the internet, they want instant gratification. They want their goods right away. Probably a good idea is to be able to deliver when someone places an order, let's say on your website, on your e-commerce store, that you deliver within a few days, maybe no more than a week. So you need to ensure that you have sufficient inventory in your warehouse or whatever storage facility you have. Now, replenishment inventory includes an important concept called just-in-time inventory. This is where suppliers deliver inventory only when needed to avoid unsold inventory. In other words, you don't want to produce too much, and that's probably going to take a lot of experience to make sure that you're actually producing just enough to meet demand. So in other words, you don't want to produce too much inventory. If there's too much inventory, it becomes a waste of money because you're buying you're buying too much inventory, too many goods, just sitting in your warehouse storage and not being sold. Suppliers sometimes deliver inventory in what we call mass customization, which is when products are uniquely manufactured and ordered. So for example, sizing, colors, you may have to decide, how many extra larges you need, larges, mediums, smalls, petites, how many colors, whether it's green or blue or black or white, because, people are going to want, a different size, they're going to want a different color. So in a way, this is what they call mass customization. In other words, you're not necessarily selling the same size and the same color to all your customers. You're going to have to do some sort of customization, depending on the profile of your customer. But by and large, if you're selling clothes, you're going to have different sizes, you're going to have different colors. So that would be mass customization. And then, of course, you have to have some sort of transportation, delivery, and tracking of the goods once they're manufactured and they leave the manufacturer's facilities. So, trucks, ships, airplanes, trains, however the goods are delivered to you. And then, of course, you have your warehousing. You need some sort of, maybe you may need a distribution center, maybe not the size of a Walmart, but, maybe it's, again, storage facility, a warehouse. Every product has to have a product SKU, which stands for stock keeping unit, and probably some sort of electronic data interchange, EDI, linking you with the manufacturer, either you as either a wholesaler or a retailer. And again, what's nice about supply chain management is that you become a client to all of these businesses. So this is kind of like an extension of my episode 9, business marketing, because you're going to have to pick all of these companies, the manufacturer, the deliverer, the warehouse, advertising agency. So you become their client in this supply chain endeavor. And that's all I have for today. Any questions or comments, please use the comments section below. Subscribe to my channel for more entrepreneurial content and about entrepreneurship. And I thank you for watching.